Hey guys, this is Echo Soundworks with ADSR, and you're checking out a quick tip and trick tutorial video, or at least I hope to keep this one short. And this video, we're going to be looking at how you can create a drum fill, a snare roll in the vein of Major Lazer, Diplo, Jack U, and to a lesser extent, DJ Snake. So this is in support of a sound set we recently released called Snake Lazers V.1 for Serum and Massive. And I got a bunch of questions on the demo song asking how I did some stuff, so I thought it'd be cool to do some tutorial videos to accompany the set. And even if you have no interest in the sound set, that's okay, you'll still get some really cool information from this video. So like I said, it's inspired by Major Lazer, Diplo, Jack U type drum fills, snare rolls. And what those guys are mainly using are timbales, or kind of like an Afro-Cuban, Caribbean style snare drum. And I have an example of that pulled up right here in the track that's highlighted yellow. And this is from Major Lazer's Cold Water with Justin Bieber. So you can hear that real quick. Kind of snare drum roll, right? And that's panning back and forth. Well, we're going to look at how you can recreate something very close to that, but also throw on our own little flair as we do it. So, like I said, that's coming from a drum sound that's called a timbale. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. And you can get samples of that. I'm going to include a couple for free, because why the hell not? So in the description, there's a link to some Dropbox action, and you can get some timbales for free if you don't have them. But we're going to be pulling the rest of the samples from Snake Lazers, and we're going to be just building up this little groove. Now, I find that it's best to do this on not an 8th note or a 16th note grid. And I've been listening to a lot of these fills and a lot of these tracks, and they don't seem to be super tight on grid. And I think that's kind of a cool juxtaposition between like having your build up, your breakdown, kind of be, everything's on grid, of course, with like snare builds and risers and all that, and then have it kind of just be loose right before the drop. I think that's a cool juxtaposition to play around with, but also triplets. And so there's 3 things to really be aware of. Is you don't want this to sound super mechanical and robotic, because you are programming it usually. And you also want to make sure you get those little like flams and rolls in there. And triplets are your best friends. So we're going to build one of these right now. Now, to do this, I'm just going to drag and drop a bunch of samples into my arrange window here, and we'll loop this right here. But before we do that, actually, let's listen to the track and the section of the track that we're going to be dumping this in. Right, so we're going to be putting it in this little build, after this little build. So probably about right here. Duka duka. There's my beatbox. Duka duka. Yeah, so probably in between, somewhere in between bar 28 and bar 29. These usually aren't super long fills, which is what's kind of cool about them. All right, so there's a few ways you can do this. You can use samples, or you can import a sample or samples into a sampler like EXS24 if you're a Logic X user, Simpler, a sampler, Ableton Live, blanking on the FL Studio, native sample playback engine thing. You guys will probably correct me on this in the comments, but Contact, Machine, Battery, anything like that if you want to have the velocity sensitivity, which can help. But if you're comfortable enough manipulating audio samples, you can also drag and drop into your DAW. And that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to drag and drop some audio samples from the drum folder of Snake Lazer. So first thing first, let's grab 2 timbales here, and we're going to drag and drop into our DAW session. And I'm going to put those more towards where they need to be. So let's get this out here. So just have them out, hanging out at bar 28-ish. Put them at 28. All right, so we got those. Now let's get some other samples. So we want to make it more our own. So let's get some djembes. I'm going to get just the first 3 djembes. Why not? Just drag and drop those in just to have some options. Now the reason I'm dragging in so many samples is if you use just one sample and try to have it play as many times as you need to, it's going to sound really robotic. Definitely if you're using audio like I'm using. If you're using a sampler that gives you the velocity, then the velocity sensitivity, it won't be as robotic and mechanic. But yeah, you want to get some variation here. It sounds a little bit better. Okay, so we got some djembes there. We got 2 timbales, 2 djembes. Let's get something else. Let's get like a conga. Let's get, just drag this 3rd conga in. And let's get something else. Let's get like a, see if we can get like a, anything else. Let's try this here. Let's try one of the trash snares. Oh, that one's pretty cool. Let's try this one. Yeah, that's the one. Let's get that in there. It's got a nice rattle and ring to it. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different samples pulled into our Logic session for this. So I don't want it happening. I don't want the first sample happening right at bar 28. I want it happening in between somewhere in there. So I'm going to make sure that I'm on a 30-second note grid so I can do triplets, so I can see more tick marks as I do this. Let's put the first one in. Let's try it there. Yeah, I want it to have some space. I want to have some room to breathe. So let's put that right there. And let's listen to one of these djembes here. And this one looks like it has a pre-roll to it. Hear how it kind of has like that flam at the beginning? That's going to be really cool and add some realness to it. So see the section right here, this little section right there where I'm highlighting with the mouse? That's like a pre-section before the hit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this out further. So this main hit coincides with the downbeat of 28.3, but then I have this little pre-roll section. Now at the same time I'm doing this, I'm going to take out some of the lows with this, maybe boost some of the mids, because it's got a lot of bass to it. All right, so now that with the timbale, right, it's going to have this nice little, just a real subtle, but it's enough to make it sound more realistic. And we're going to expound on that idea in a minute here. So what we're going to do is let's go down, and what we're going to do is we're going to chop up one of these djembes here. So let's go and listen to this third djembe right here and see if we can chop this up. All right, so that has a flam. Again, that's another little section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight, hit escape and I for my scissor tool, and we're going to chop up that beginning section there. So we have another section of like pre-roll, just like we did in the last djembe. And I'm going to take this and let's take this, and we're going to put it right there for now. Let's try putting it at 28.2.7 makes sense. Just a little bit of pre-roll before the actual one. And then let's chop up one more djembe because these aren't going to have a lot of volume to them. So let's do, it looks like this first djembe is just, looks like it's just one djembe. So let's just chop that so it's a little bit shorter. I don't know if I want the tail. And we'll copy and paste the tail down here in case we do end up wanting it. Let's take this and we'll pop it up here as well, and we're going to put it right there. So now we have all this kind of like pre-roll happening before 28.3 is where I wanted that first timbale to hit. Now we have all this happening right here. So I'm going to take out the lows on these again. There's going to be a little bit of low frequency rumble in there that I don't want. I'm going to take this one out as well. All right, so now I'm going to crossfade the end of these just to clean them up a bit. All right, let's listen to this. All right, so it already sounds pretty cool. And that's happening from that little flam situation right there. Okay, so that's done. Those are at 28.2.7. And what we're going to do now is we are going to add in some extra hits. So we got this second timbale here, and it's a smaller sounding one than this one. Okay, and we're going to put that at, let's try putting it right there, see what happens. All right, let's pop that guy. Let's try it at 28.4. Actually, let's put it on 28.3.5. That sounds pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to copy and paste that same one. And let's try putting it at 28.4. Let's try that. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. I think we're gonna need one more hit to kind of punctuate the ending of the phrase. So we got this one at 28.3.5, it appears. And let's put another one of the djembes with that. So it's a slightly different hit than this second timbale. So let's put, which djembe haven't we used? Let's try this third one that we chopped. Let's try that. Let's put that right here at 28.3.5 with that second timbale there. Okay, and I'm going to take out the low frequencies on that as well. Boost some of the highs so it pops out a little bit. All right, let's listen to this. Okay, so that sounds pretty cool. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so I'm gonna try to punctuate the ending of this now. And I'm probably gonna go back to this main djembe here for that. So I'm gonna copy and paste that down. And let's try putting it right there and see how that sounds. All right, that sounds all right. Let's see if we scoot it back one. Nope, let's see if we scoot it forward one. I think I had it right. Yeah, we had it right. So at 28.4.5, we're gonna do this one. And we're gonna take this. This is gonna be like the last hurrah. This is gonna be the last note. So I want it to be a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna copy and paste and layer some things here just to make it a little bit bigger. So we have this second timbale here, and we're gonna do this one. Now with this one, we're gonna do something interesting real quick. We're gonna open up Solemnity Melodyne. You can do this in, if you're an Ableton user, this will be a lot easier for you. You can just pitch this guy up. I'm a Logic user, so I don't have an easy way to do that. So I'm gonna transfer this into Melodyne. I'm gonna just boost the format. There it is. And this will just make it have a slightly different pitch to it. Okay, so I just pitched it a little, and then I'm gonna take the format tool in Melodyne and crank it up. Not that much, but listen to what this does. Right, it's gonna be a little bit higher pitched. Well, perceived pitch, because we're messing with the format. So it's gonna be a little bit more bright to our ear, which will be cool. To help it pop. So now on this last note here, we have the small timbale. We have this one, which is, I'm gonna say it's coming from mellow, because it's not gonna let me mute that easily. So what I'm actually gonna do is we are gonna bounce that guy in place real quick. All right, so I'm gonna delete that one because in Melodyne it would just keep playing if I tried muting it. So we have that. Now let's try layering in one of the other samples we dragged in. Let's get this trash snare, for instance, and we'll pop that on this last note as well. And we also have that conga, so maybe we can take the conga and pop that on that note as well. So let's see how this feels, and then see if we just need to do some things to glue it together. All right, so it sounds pretty cool. It's definitely working. Now we just need to go through and make sure the EQ and everything else is right. So we took out the lows on a lot of these. Let's see what we got here. I like the EQ on that. That doesn't bother me at all. Let's go down here and let's take on this trash snare. Let's take out the lows. Let's get funky with it. Sure, let's try that. All right, that sounds kind of cool, I guess. And let's go to the conga now, and we're gonna take out some of the lows on that as well. Actually, a lot of the lows, and we're gonna drag that out. Okay, so now that we have that in, we have the general layout there in place. What we need to do is make it more realistic and kind of just glue together. Now to do that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mess with the volumes of some of these. So let's turn I want this first hit to be fairly loud, but let's turn these down so they're all not as loud. And I want these second ones here, I want them to kind of build. So we're gonna turn this down to about -3, this down to about -3 as well. This is the first hit on that second timbale. Now the second timbale here we're gonna turn down, but not as much, right? So it'd be like if you had velocity. So we'll turn this down to about -2.5, -2.8, and we'll turn this down to about -1.5 for this one. And then this one will pop and be a little bit louder. So what we can also do is mess with the panning ever so slightly with some of these. If it's a simpler roll, you can get more intricate with the panning. But I'm gonna have some of these pan out a little bit left and right as we go, just so it's not all dead center. And to make it even cooler and have a little bit more width here, on these hits that they're happening at the same time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up an instance of a sample delay, and I'm just going to change the duration, basically kind of offset them. So we'll do 202 samples to the left on that one, and we'll keep that where it is on that. Now on this one, we'll do a similar thing. I'm going to pull up the sample delay, and let's do the right. Let's take it up just to about 170, 200 maybe. And then on this one, we can do the same thing. Load up another instance of the sample delay, and we'll take this probably on the left side. So this will get a little bit of a wider stereo image. Let's try this real quick. All right, so that sounded pretty cool to me. All right, so last thing that I would do would just be to adjust volume and then maybe compress the hell out of it on like a group bus. So let's turn the volume down on all of it. So that sounds pretty cool. Let's listen one last time, and I won't do the compression on this video because you get the idea, but let's listen. And you can also throw on some reverb on a couple of the hits, especially the last two hits, to help them ring out and be a little bit bigger heading into the drop. But there you guys go. There is a first-hand look how you can create a drum fill drum roll in the vein of Major Lazer, Diplo, Skrillex, DJ Snake. If you guys have any questions or comments, let me know below. And don't forget to grab your free timbale samples up in the description. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I am Echo Soundworks. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.